How is creating a blockchain on AWS decentralized? This is a question from my student Vader from one of my Udemy courses, and it's a really good question. On this Udemy blockchain course, I deploy an Ethereum node on AWS, and the question is, can this be decentralized? And he continues with the question, I thought that the whole reason to create the blockchain was not to have AWS, Amazon, and the other large cloud providers to control your data and also prevent from shutting down the blockchain. Yes, this is a really good question. AWS, Amazon Web Services, is one of the biggest, or the biggest at the moment, cloud provider. And you have other cloud providers like IBM, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Alibaba Clouds, Rackspace, and a few others. But these ones are the big ones. And they control basically, like, I don't know, a big percentage of the internet. 90% of the internet that you use in a daily basis. The websites are hosted on AWS or IBM Cloud or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud. Most of the people don't have any more on-premise servers because they are expensive. So most of the internet is hosted on cloud. When you use Netflix or when you use a mobile app, most of these applications are hosted on cloud. Now the question is, if you deploy your blockchain nodes on the cloud, are you creating some degree of centralization or not? And yeah, we can really discuss it, because yes and no. Okay, let's say you want to deploy a node in a public blockchain. Public blockchains are by nature decentralized. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and many others, they are decentralized, meaning that when you deploy additional nodes, you are increasing the decentralization, and decentralization is one of the main benefits of public blockchains, is that there is no single point of failure, no single point of control. So, okay, when you deploy a node, let's say an Ethereum node, on a public cloud like AWS, what you are doing with the nodes is you are downloading the entire blockchain, the entire ledger, and validating the transactions. And then we will also be a relay node to broadcast the transaction. So every time there is a new transaction, or every time there is a miner mining a new transaction, this transaction is going through all the nodes. The nodes are going to validate the transactions, and they are going to broadcast the transaction to their peer nodes. And the blockchain is like this huge network of nodes, thousands of them, that relay the messages between them and validate the transactions. So when you deploy one of these nodes, instead of deploying on your own machine, if you deploy it on clouds, are you increasing or decreasing centralization, or is it good for the decentralized feature of blockchain? Well, I would say that it's not good or bad. If you deploy one more node, even if it is on AWS or a centralized cloud provider, you are still contributing. I would say that you are still contributing with a node to the network. It's one more node validating transactions. Now, the second part of the question is, these large cloud providers could eventually shut down that node. And yeah, well, if you want to be accurate, yeah, AWS could suddenly shut down, but historically, like AWS and Google Cloud and Azure, they are very reliable cloud providers. I don't think they are going to shut down anything unless, like, they have some requests from the authorities or from the government. Of course, for example, imagine if you decide to host an illegal website on AWS, a website selling drugs or something, probably they are going to get an order from the court or from the police or from the authorities to shut down that website because it's like illegal activity. Now, at least for now, I don't think it's going to happen anytime in the future. To run an Ethereum node or Bitcoin node it's not illegal, and you can use the cloud for it. And AWS, they have very good SLAs, the service level agreements, that say like basically that 99.9% of the time that node they provide the server and it's going to be up and running. So it's usually a very reliable website. Now, okay, I understand also that there is some counter argument to this, because if everyone only deploys the blockchain nodes on the cloud, can it get a bit centralized? Yeah, it could. Like AWS, for example, they have many different regions. They have AWS Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan. They have in India data centers in India, in the UK, in the Netherlands, in the US, and Brazil. They have many different locations, but still, it wouldn't be enough to totally decentralize a blockchain, right? You still probably, like Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure and IBM, they have also in all these places, they have like in the US, in the UK, in Europe and Asia, but still not enough to have a big degree of decentralization. I believe that probably most of the I don't know, like exchanges and some of the services that require to have full node, they do it on the cloud because it's just much faster and easier and reliable. But I would agree that it doesn't contribute that much for the decentralization. If you want a fully decentralized blockchain, the blockchain needs to allow any person to run a node, and you don't need to have like a cloud provider with huge computing capacity. So in most of blockchains, including the Ethereum blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain, Dogecoin, you can run a full node from your computer. Okay, it requires a little bit of space. It requires, I don't know, I think in the Bitcoin blockchain, if I'm not wrong, maybe 200, 300 gigabytes of space. Dogecoin currently is like 70 gigabytes. To be honest, I run a Dogecoin node, full node on my computer, because I want to contribute to the network, just that. And more people contributing to the network, more decentralized it is. And we want to have blockchains that allow to run a full node on a normal computer in order to make sure that we can have some decentralization. That's why it's so important to have like a certain block size and not increase too much to allow precisely the decentralization feature. The wars between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin has 1 megabyte block, while Bitcoin Cash is 8 megabyte block. Most of the Bitcoin maximalists didn't accept to increase the Bitcoin block from 1 megabyte to 8 megabytes because this potentially increases the requirement for space to run a full node. I don't know what's the moment the size of the Bitcoin Cash blockchain, but if you produce 8 megabytes per minute, this will increase exponentially the size of the blockchain, and it will make it have much more requirements in terms of storage and space. And maybe later it wouldn't be possible anymore to run a node on a normal computer, while Bitcoin, you can still run a full node in your laptop. Dogecoin is here, you can run a full node in your laptop, and this is very important for decentralization. And I hope, yeah, people continue to run their own nodes in any laptop, so that they continue to have a very high degree of decentralization. So just to complete the video, yeah, I agree that AWS, deploying a node on AWS and other cloud providers, it doesn't increase much the decentralization, but it does contribute with the nodes to validate transactions, and in more nodes we have on the blockchain, more resiliency that blockchain has, and you are always contributing to the blockchain. Even if you run a node in a more like centralized manner on the cloud, you are still giving some contribution because your node is validating transactions, helping to broadcast transactions and all that good stuff. Oh, and what about if you are running a node for a permissioned private blockchain? Well, I would say, according to my work experience, most of the times when an organization, a company wants to deploy a node for one of their permissioned private blockchains, they use Indeed Cloud. Most of the big organizations are using almost 100% of the times cloud. Cloud is much easier to deploy anything. You don't have any upfront costs. You pay as you go. It's very flexible. So I would say that most of the big corporates and banks when they choose to deploy a blockchain node, they use just straight ahead cloud. These blockchain permissionless private blockchains, they may have many different uses. For example, you have this Walmart IBM Food Trust, which is a very successful use case to track the supply chain of leafy green goods, to track from the farmer to the consumer. This is very helpful to eventually to track if there is, for example, a product contaminated with salmonella or some kind of disease. It's very easy to track and remove that batch that was contaminated. And you can use this, can do this with blockchain. IBM partnered with Walmart, and basically all the currently all the Walmart suppliers need to be on this blockchain, need to connect to this blockchain. And the way they provide the service to the suppliers, to all these farmers, is that they can connect to this blockchain by deploying very easily a node on IBM. On IBM, they have this kind of blockchain as a service where you can deploy a node in this blockchain IBM Food Trust to track the supply chain of food. Now, is this centralized? Well, considering that although it's kind of cloud agnostic, you could deploy these kind of nodes in a different blockchain or on-premise. Because IBM offers it as a blockchain as a service, most of the people are actually deploying it on the IBM cloud. So what happens is if suddenly IBM shuts down, what happens if their data centers explode or something like that? This blockchain will be also shut down, and probably that's true, yeah. So there is some degree of centralization. However, these private permissioned blockchains, the objective is not like really to have a huge decentralization. Their value comes more from the transparency across all the peers. And at the end, they are private blockchains, right? They have a legal entity behind it. They have IBM and they have Walmart. So it's a bit a different model. So it's kind of a little bit more okay to be centralized because they are already centralized by nature. Of course, this is not the case for public blockchains and public blockchains like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. We don't want them to be in one single cloud provider for sure. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you like, please thumbs up and subscribe. I will be doing more videos like this, and